forgot how much this hurts, man. I'm regretting now putting that effort on the last lap. Well, once I saw Matt chasing, I couldn't help myself. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back, frenemy Brian Larson.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Jeff. It's been a minute.
It has, dude. So stoked to have you back. And no, this is not intelligentsia. I just got back from Chicago. Quickly came down with COVID. And look, that race was a blast. We have so much footage. It was a handful. We're going to get into that real soon. So to hold you guys over, we're talking about Alviso today. And this is an Alviso from 8 months ago. This is the middle of the worst California winter. Can you tell? It was like 63 degrees, freezing cold. We're so spoiled here in California.
Yeah, no, I think this was an action-packed one, especially for early season. So I think we should just jump into it.
Let's do it. Okay, but first I want to quickly thank the sponsor of this video, Manscaped. So what I was going to do for this ad is talk about, its little wireless charging tray and how it works in the shower and how it prevents nicks and cuts on your skin, that sort of thing. But I didn't want to go down that path. I wanted to talk about how it pertains to us cyclists and this crazy sport of ours, because one of the weird traditions is leg shaving. Weird, right? I was against it for years, by the way. And most people think it's about aerodynamic benefit, which, by the way, that accounts for a pretty significant amount of time savings. Specialized did an interesting video about that in their wind tunnel. But also there's other benefits, like if and when you get road rash on your legs, we'll say when you get road rash on your legs following a crash, it's so much more sanitary and so much easier to take care of road rash when you have shaved legs. That's another benefit. Also, I hate rubbing in SPF 50 into hairy legs. It's super uncomfortable, or embrocation cream in the winter. So those are other benefits. And what I do is I use the Manscaped trimmer to take care of that in the shower. It's super easy. It charges itself in its little tray, like I said. So if you want to save 20% off, I'm going to put a link down in the description. It helps support this channel. It helps keep doing what we're doing for free. So it would mean a lot. And with that said, let's get back on some bike racing. Okay, just a couple laps in, and things are already happening. We have some action off the front. Matt starts to go, and I think about it for a second. I come up to like 700 watts. I think better of it because I'm like, you know what? Thirsty Bear is not involved. Who is Thirsty Bear? They are the big team in this race. They are the big team at Alviso usually. They're in these blue jerseys. And hey, look, if you don't have to chase and others have an obligation to, it's always better to sit in the draft, right, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, this is still a ways out. 21 kilometers to go in this race, which means, time is on your side, and it's going to hurt those in the breakaway with this far to go.
Maximize your time in the draft if at all possible. That's the idea. And great success. It works for me. Other people chase. I don't have to. But it's been fast. Look, it's single file. These riders on the front are slow. What is it time for? Le slingshot. Le slingshot. Into the tailwind. Here we go. Oh, we still have Thirsty Bear off the front, so gonna have to chase him back. But always a good opportunity. And look who's in my shadow here. This is Cameron. Gonna talk a lot more about him later. And plus Matt, so this looks like a pretty good composition.
Yeah, I mean, these are the hitters, right? And, putting yourself in the position to win, the slingshot worked well, and every team is there. You brought back Thirsty Bear, but, Matt's still sitting in your wheel, which I think is also more foreshadowing here. So,
yeah, and although we got separation from the field momentarily, it's too early on in the race to really make this possible, so we end up getting caught and all back together. And yes, like I said, we got caught. I fall back, and look how it's all single file and strung out. This means it's fast, right? And then when it all gets compressed like this and slows down and everyone starts coasting, this is dangerous. We know that there's probably a group off the front. I take a peek. Sure enough, look who it is. I see a blue jersey and a pink jersey. My competition. I must chase that back. Le slingshot number 2. The counter slingshot.
Yeah, I mean, and that's Cameron. I mean, everyone knows that your wheel is the wheel to be, and if you're in a break, they better be there because you're the fastest finisher, and we've talked about that time and time again, to be the fastest finisher in whatever group that goes to the line. So if you're going in the break and you're a sprinter, everyone needs to go with you here. And you get across to this, and it looks like there's a little hesitation. Of course, Matt soft pedals and looks over, and what's to be expected, but le counter.
Oh, no, not this. This is like the attack counterattack from Thirsty Bear that we know on this channel. It's a successful strategy that Thirsty Bear deploys at Alviso time and time again. And look, it puts me kind of on the back foot here. I have to get across to that, especially if Matt goes right here. If Matt's going to jump across, I have to follow. I'm going to try to jump in the draft here. but we have to close that down. Like, it has to happen. It looks like Matt tries, and then allergic to the wind, flicks the elbow. San Jose also missed the move, so they're going to take a pull. It doesn't look like much right here, but once you give up, that gap could just go out to forever, to never see them again. So I end up having to close down these last few bike lengths, which is fine. Happy to do that in order to keep the field together so I can give myself a better chance later on in the race. And just a few kilometers later, another breakaway gets off the front. I told you guys, this is an early season, spicy edition of Alviso. So we have to chase this back. Like I said earlier, it's always better to follow in the draft, right? Drafting is what makes this sport so wonderful. You can do less than the people in front of you. That's always helpful. So I am behind a couple of strong dudes here, but right in front of me is Larry Nolan. He is I don't even know how many national championships he has now. He's a decorated athlete, now a Masters athlete. He is going to drill on the front. But some interesting things happen. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the shadows, you could tell it's single file. You guys are going quite fast here. And that rider who had just taken the pull pulls backwards, and Matt, behind there in the Tarun jersey, lets the gap go. So he lets about a bike length go, hoping the other rider will slot in, and all of a sudden that bike length, you'll see through this corner, blows out from a bike length to 50 meters in a matter of 5 seconds. You guys are going 31 miles an hour, and that was a fatal flaw for Matt, in my opinion, because, and this is true of a lot of racers where, if you don't stay on the wheel when it's going 30 miles an hour, you're signing yourself up for a big gap to close later if you're not wise to it.
Absolutely. And in this case, I didn't even know what was going on behind me. Like, we didn't do this big attack. Like Larry stepped on it for sure, but it wasn't this big acceleration from the front to chase this group back. So by the time I look back, I realized we have a gap, and that's why now I'm taking the front. I'm like, oh, I was pleasantly surprised that we have a gap. I get to the front, and I want to further punish those guys who let the gap open up. Because, if they weren't willing to hold a wheel a moment ago, they're certainly not willing to close down a gap in the headwind. So that's my idea here, committing a pretty hard effort. Now I'm looking back, kind of checking. You can see on the chest cam, I'm looking back. I realize that Jerome is behind me. This is great. I know Jerome's going to work with me. I know Jerome has several teammates back in the field who are not going to be chasing their teammate. So this could be good. I mean, it's a long ways out, but hey, look, best case, we go to the line. Jerome and I have gone to the line together in a 2-up sprint. Worst case, we are punishing those behind who decided to roll the dice and be lazy. And just as I suspect, they are not going to let Jerome and I get away. So what happens? Lessling Show number 3. And again, this is why Thirsty Bear finds a lot of success in their racing out here at Alviso especially, is they got their team dynamics on point. I have to chase this back. That was Blaine, Jerome's teammate, doing good teammate things and counterattacking off the front. And look, this is a situation where, I could sit back, but I don't want to be in that position where I'm, forced to close down 20 seconds later on, right? Like to your point earlier, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, you made the right call to close this immediately because you recognized the situation, and the situation was that either people were tired because they were in the break or people were tired from chasing the break. So that bike length or that gap could blow out very, very quickly.
Wait, what's Blaine doing here, though? Is he thinking I'm going to chase that back? I'm coasting hard right here because if Thirsty Bear's not up there, look, I'm surrounded by Thirsty Bear now. I have all 3 of them. And, this is funny now because did you hear Jerome was kind of chirping at his teammates? Jerome's their sprinter, so he wants to save energy, and he was kind of chirping at his teammate like, dude, don't let that get away. We have to be represented. So that was pretty funny. And now that they are represented, I do have to chase that back a little bit.
I forgot how much this hurts, man. I'm regretting now putting that effort on the last lap. Well, once I saw Matt chasing, I couldn't help myself.
So we're back together. So Jerome and I start talking and kind of just having a good time, discussing what's happened over the last 30 minutes of this race. And I think we're back together getting ready for a field sprint. But I was wrong. Just a few hundred meters later, here goes Blainster yet again.
The Blaine train.
The Blaine Payne train with Matt in tow. I cannot let these guys get away. Inside of 10 kilometers to go, Blaine is like a sniper. He's like a sharpshooter, and that is a very dangerous move from him. So I have to chase this back. And we pick a pretty good time. I mean, this isn't Blaine's first time attacking inside of 10 kilometers to go. He chooses the crosswind to do it. And guess who's in my draft? For foreshadowing. This is called foreshadowing, Brian. I'm yelling at Matt to rotate, who it seems like he's going to reluctantly take a pull here. Sorry, Matt. We've been bashing Matt in this video. But Matt's going to take a pull, and he's going to flick me through, and I am going to happily take a pull here because I look back and I realize, hey, maybe we're not going to do a field sprint. Maybe we're going to be in a breakaway.
Yeah, I mean, I had asked you, right, if you were aiming for a breakaway in this race or a sprint, and your response was yes.
Yes. Yes, Brian. Yes, to all of the above. Now, you guys know how I like to race. I do enjoy a field sprint, but like I've always said, what's easier? Is it easier to beat 40 people in a sprint or 3 people in a sprint? It's a no-duh situation. So always, oh God, now I'm playing the game with Blaine. Dude, I am not going to just chase on behalf of Blaine. If he wants to drop back like this.
Sure, he's going to be happy once he gets here.
Dude, I'm such an asshole. You hear me talking to him? I'm like, Jerome's not going to be happy when he gets here because he's realized once he chases this back, oh my God, my team's not in this break anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they had the perfect lineup there, but, you know, my guess is Jerome had the marching orders that if you're there, then, you know, we have to shut down that breakaway. But it kind of bites them in the butt a little bit because now no Cortex is there, right?
Yeah, and this is good news for me, believe it or not, because now they're obligated to chase it back, which means I get to sit back and chill, hopefully save some energy for a field sprint. But instead of just chasing it back like I was hoping they were going to, Thirsty Bear instead launches on the left. Blaine redeeming himself, and I was totally boxed in. This was a good move. Like, I wasn't able to follow him. I'm completely shut in here in the group. So this is kind of a problem for me now, right? I can't really respond to that.
Yeah, and 2 laps to go. I mean, this is the closing match. No one really wants to take up chase with 2 laps to go. And so, you know, you got to get yourself prepared. I know you're recovering, and I mean, do you think this is going the distance?
Yes, with 2 laps to go, like you just said, I do think this might go the distance. So, oh, I'm getting in the drops. What time is it, Brian?
It's time for a slingshot.
So off I go. French-Canadian audience is going to love this episode of El Viso. And I am going to try to jump across because I want to win this race. And not jumping across to this move is how I lose this race. And who's in my shadow again?
That is your shadow. That's Mr. Cameron. He is your shadow today.
He is my shadow today. He's following the moves. He's got the same idea that I do, so this is smart. And I have to jump across here. So I end up getting there. I end up catching them, but in the process, the entire field catches them. That's right. That means we're all back together.
Counterattack coming in about 4 seconds. There it is.
But I still have to deal with the counterattacks.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this on this channel time and time again. Is it's not just about what move you do; it's about what move follows what you do. And you were wise there, Jeff. You knew what was coming, and you saw that you were about to be vulnerable to an attack within about a lap and a quarter left of the finish. This is super dangerous here. So.
And the keen-eyed among you will see that Blaine jumped across too. So this is a pretty threatening one, especially inside of 1 lap to go. I have to be careful that they don't get too far up the road. But the gap does go out because who wants to chase on the last lap? Nobody wants to chase on the last lap. I certainly don't want to waste energy chasing on the last lap. Everyone's thinking about the sprint in this case. So now we have this threatening group with Blaine and Thirsty Bear off the front by, I don't know, 8 seconds or something like that. What do we do in this case, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, if you're inside half a lap and there's a break up the road, the first thing you should always do is ask yourself, is Super Dave around to help out? And sure enough, that's the wheel you get on, the best wheel for the lead out.
Because Super Dave comes from the track, and he's good at this type of effort, well, like from 1 kilometer, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is a pursuiter, and he is pursuing those guys up the road, and he's giving you a wicked lead out here.
He's probably hoping he's doing this by himself, but I am not allowing that to happen. Sorry, Super Dave. So he's turning his 1K effort into a fantastic lead out for me. So pat on the back.
Yeah, and with Cameron, you know, still glued to your wheel, he knows you're the rider to beat. And Dave is like, he looks over his shoulder there and checks to make sure you're still there, which I think was actually a friendly thing because he stayed on it.
Yeah, now he knows, and he's not slowing down. Now he knows I'm here, and he's not slowing down, which is a bro move. He's like, well, I've committed this much energy. I may as well try to stitch the rest of this up for the sprinters.
Yeah, he stays on the inside, protects it, you know, marks of a good lead-out rider, takes it fast through this corner, and you could see those 4 guys are still right there, and this is your moment to shine. This is a sprint, but you're pretty close to the front, and you have to do what you do best, which is that double sprint. You're going to open
the double sprint, which I don't want to do. Yeah, I don't want to do it, but at the same time, I have to, right? Like, I don't want to just lead out Cameron. So I snap pretty good power, not all-out power, and then I sit back down. This is important. Save a little bit left in the legs. And And now I'm back on the tail end of the group, but we still have 250 meters to go. Still a little bit early to sprint. I take just a second of rest, and now I do the full unload of the sprint, hoping that it's enough with the double acceleration to prevent Cam from coming around me. And sure enough, it was, which is good news for me, because if I were just to I think, do a slow burn all the way to the finish, I just would have led Cameron out. I want to talk about this finish again, though, because actually Cameron had a GoPro running. I think it shows the perspective a lot better, and it shows how I very easily could have lost this race. Okay, so we're picking up action here. This is Cameron's chest cam. This is me in the green top. Super Dave is finishing his pull right here, and you can see I am going to stand up. I take one peek over my right-hand shoulder. I snap hard power, which means Cameron has to snap really hard power, too. I could sit down and do 800 watts from here to the finish probably, but I would effectively lead Cameron out. So my idea is I'm tiring his legs out at the same time. One more check, making sure I know what's going on. I'm going to pause it right here with 250 meters to go, because big mistake by me. Brian, you see it?
Yes, I see two big things happening. One, the delta of the breakaway of the riders you're catching is they're going much slower than you, and you could have easily moved right and gotten yourself boxed in. Or two, Cameron could have just moved up on your left and boxed you in on purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So don't go right. That wasn't what I was talking about, but that is a very valid point. Don't go right here, guys. It is congested. I'm going to get boxed. I'm going to box myself in. But even if I just continue going straight and say, for example, slow down, which I am doing, all Cameron has to do is start his sprint maybe 3 seconds earlier than he would have otherwise want to. If he just creeps up on my left right here, I have nowhere to go, you guys. And then he can even do a big brain sprinter move and wait there for a little bit and just kind of hold 500 watts and really box me in, right? And then unload the final 100 meters of the sprint and win. I could have very easily lost this race if he would have done that. Instead, he leaves the door open for me, so I'm able to rest for a second, stand back up, and from here, look, 200 meters to go. It's really hard to come around somebody when we're going this fast. This is close to 40 miles an hour. And yeah, I mean, he gets a good draft, but there's just not enough time to come around me. So that's how the bike race was won, you guys, and how I could have easily lost it, by the way. Cam's a bro. He's going to be beating me real soon. Brian?
Yeah.
Good having you on, my man.
Yeah, thanks again, Jeff.
Talk to you guys later.